What's up, everybody? You're very, very welcome along to this week's Cop the Week. I am joined by Mr. Steve Bland and Mr. James Redmond. Steve, dude, it feels like an eternity since we've spoken. 5-0, Jude Bellingham's. What else do you want?
No, I missed the whole week, and what a week to miss. I caught up on a bit of your chat last week. It sounded like you had a bit of fun, but yeah, plenty to talk about, isn't it?
There's loads to talk about, James. I sent you all pre-warning. I sent you all messages telling you how unbearable it was going to be, mate. I'm not going to be lying.
You didn't send a message. You sent...
I've got my popcorn, my mate. I've got my popcorn, don't you worry. Oh, dear.
Oh,
yeah, I'm myself into streams here and everything.
When you say you
back
sent
in
a
a place.
When you say you sent a message, you sent a clip of... Well, you sent me a clip of you singing, and then a clip saying you're going to get naked. So... And I texted Connor. I was like, actually, he texted me and he said, prepare yourself for a lot of Bellingham chat tonight. And
Yeah.
I said, well, Craig said he might get naked. And he said he only said might to be polite. So,
that's very true.
He knows me too well. Yeah, I mean, don't worry. You might think that their lads are joking. I actually did just send them a voice note of me singing "Hey Jude." That
Genuinely, like that, I can confirm this like 100%. And a beautiful voice, may I add? By the way, Lord Craig,
voice
amazing.
of an angel, wasn't it?
Oh,
voice
it's
of an
beautiful,
angel.
lads. It's great.
voice of a naked angel, Steve.
Oh dear, let's not put these images inside people's heads.
I know, yeah. You know what
Before
I mean? We're actually a minute and a half into the show as well.
Before we get stuck into the real propaganda, I've got some sponsored propaganda that I have to talk about as well, gentlemen. And look, James, you're the perfect man for me to pitch this to. Did you know, dude, that with the holiday season approaching and fast approaching, might I say, Manscaped not only have the normal package we speak about, mate, they have included a premium body wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner.
Unbelievable.
You are joking, aren't you, Craig?
I'm not joking, you Mr. Redmond. I'm deadly serious.
This is scenes. Are you hearing
It's unbelievable. It's time to get yourself that gift for Christmas, ladies and gentlemen. You can have your Santa beard in your pants. You can have your hair shiny and glossy like Mr. Redmond's there. It can be jingle balls all the way. Jingle balls all the way with the all-new Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped, featuring the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker Ear and Nose Hair Trimmer, bit of ball toner, bit of ball deodorant, boxer briefs, anti-chafing boxer briefs, I might add, Mr. Bland, anti-chafing. So you don't have to worry about when you're Manscaped.
No one likes chafage.
No, but these are anti-chafing. So you've got your anti-chafing toner and deodorant. You've got your boxer briefs. You're saying to me, Craig, what do I carry it in? I say to you, good people, the Shed travel bag comes included.
Oh, goodness me. It couldn't get any better.
It's coming, and you need to treat somebody in your life. Get to WFM20 for 20% off and free shipping. Everything. Manscaped.com. Santa's coming, ladies and gents. Santa is coming. Don't be without.
Unbelievable, Jeff. Unbelievable, Jeff. That's the only thing that you say. Unbelievable, Jeff.
Actually, on that, Jeff Stelling is retiring at the end of the season, which is a shame.
I know, lads. That's actually devastating. Do you know what I mean? He's been on that show longer than I've been alive, so you know he's a legend in the game. And I think to myself, fair play to him because he's done 25 good years, great work, and he makes it entertaining for the fact you're not watching the match.
Absolute legend. Do you know he's absolutely tiny as Jeff? He's like 5'2" or 5'3" or something.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that. He's always been on his little desk, hasn't he?
Absolutely tiny. But yeah,
I suppose that does open.
Wonderful broadcaster.
Yeah, 100%. And I suppose that opens the conversation for the fact you don't like we could just be proper small. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're watching a YouTuber, he could just be about 4 foot. Do you know what I mean? This is the perfect job for small people. If you're small, get on YouTube.
All right, go on then. How tall do we think? How tall does everyone think we are?
I am 6 foot with shoes on. Everyone will dispute this, but I will argue till the day that I die on my deathbed.
I'll dispute it right now.
What do you mean, Craig? What do you mean?
Kind of
There's nothing to dispute. Heels? No, I'm 5'11", but with shoes I'm 6 foot, and you wear shoes about 90% of the time. If you're out like me, so therefore I'm 6 foot, boys. So I'm claiming it. Claimed.
6 foot. I didn't give you 6 foot. I won't lie. I didn't put you. I'm bang average. I'm 5'10", bang average.
I'm
that's like solid size.
I'm 6'3".
Wow,
I did not
big
think
boy,
you were that tall, Steve.
You are a big boy.
Yeah.
Big boy, Steve.
Yeah.
Do you know who else is tall, Steve? Do you know who else is tall?
I've got a good idea.
There he goes.
Na 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 na. Hey Jude.
Hey, say it again.
Oh, Steve, you needed that week away, mate. You needed that week to get back to some form of normality. Do you know what I mean? Being around us two.
Yeah. I mean, it's about the closest we've come so far to anything credible saying that he's on his way, isn't it? It's about as the closest we've had so far. So I'll give you that. I mean, it is Craig Hignett, and I was saying to you before we started the stream that I used to have a Crew season ticket. I used to go watch Crew a lot, and Hignett was one of Crew's best players back then. And I don't know what qualifies him to to know all things about Jude Bellingham, but fair play. He seems to be pretty confident, doesn't he?
For those who are still doubters of Lord Craig Holden and the Jude Bellingham Express, let me just take you back to what Craig Hignett had to say. So he said, I can't say where I've heard it from, but apparently he's been saying that he's Liverpool bound. Whether that is January or whether that's at the end of the season, I'm not sure. But I think I have a good authority that it's almost a cert. That is music to my ears, gentlemen. I have to say. Now, Mr. Redmond, how do we fund such a move? That's the big question.
How reliable is this source? Just because I actually don't know who he is. I'm not great with my
former Middlesbrough manager, former player.
No, so he was in the Liverpool academy years and years and years ago. And then he moved to Crew. He's a big player at Crew when Danny Murphy years and Neil Lennon years, all that kind of thing. And then his career kind of fizzled out. He had a couple of management jobs. Yeah, but he's a Liverpool supporter, so he's got he'll have decent connections at the club, and he does bits and bobs of work there, I think, still, and a bit of punditry here and there. But I mean, who knows?
Well, to fund such a transfer, it would surprise me, let's say, if we were to go ahead and stick with the model that we have done over the past few seasons and sell to buy. I don't know who you sell. I don't want to sell anyone, but I do think there's players, even if it's a bunch, like the way we sold Shaqiri and a couple of other players, like Harry Wilson as well, like a couple of players, 10, 15 million each. I feel like that's the way you fund Jude Bellingham. You try and get around 50, 60, 70 million out of player sales, and then you go ahead and whack a little bit of your own money in there that you've made through the club. So I feel like that's the way you fund it, because again, I don't want to see any big players go. But if I had to make a prediction, I feel like that's the only way we get Jude Bellingham. We have to get a nice custy fee for the players, or for one of our players out of Mane or Firmino or whoever it may be. Even though I don't want these players to leave, I feel like that's the only way we get Jude Bellingham. Do I want Jude Bellingham? Absolutely, because he's a great player, and I would spend a lot of money for Jude Bellingham as well, because even this season, and bear in mind, the kid's 19 or 18, he is only getting better. He's only becoming a better player. He brings goals. He's a well-rounded, balanced midfielder. And I think there is love there for the club. I even think when he brought up Steven Gerrard, that was sort of a little hint to us that he's got one eye on a career at Liverpool.
So, Steve, I've got up in the morning, I'm hungry, I go to the table, I get out my bowl, I get out my spoon, I get my cornflakes out, I put them in the bowl, I look around, and I'm waiting for Steve to piss all over my cornflakes. Am I going to be disappointed?
Oh, man. Well, no. Right, look, he is phenomenal talent, isn't he? Like, no question. Like, he's the sort of player that you would spend, like James says, an awful lot of money on. I guess one of the stumbling blocks is that unlike a lot of the boys coming out of Dortmund, he hasn't got a release clause, has he? I don't think.
No, I'm not aware of one anyway.
Which Sancho, Haaland, guys like that have all had release clauses when people have been trying to get them out of Dortmund. So they will be pretty confident, I imagine, of holding out for some pretty mega money.
Someone put something in the chat, Steve, that I wanted to run past you, because you're the sensible one. Me and James will run with this all day.
We're crazy bastards, so I believe that you should ask Steve this as well.
Someone said to me earlier on, now again, it's conjecture, but it's an idea that I think I could get on board with. So go to Dortmund and say, look, we want Jude. How's about you having a bit of Naby Ke&iuml?
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing I've ever heard, I won't lie.
I would love that.
No. I mean, that's absolutely not the worst idea ever. I imagine he's a sort of player. He's 26-ish. He's still got a good few years left in him, and he's already been a top player in Germany. Already flourished in the German league.
He's established in that league, of course.
Of course. Yeah, not the worst idea in the world, is it? I mean, and whether that would. What did he cost us? Like 52 million? You wouldn't get that knocked off the Bellingham price anymore, would you?
No.
You might get
probably not, to be fair.
30, 35 million or something knocked off it. But, even that, Mike, even that takes it into the range of, you could probably fund it with a couple of sales, lower level sales, not the top level sales. So, yeah,
Go on, he's got to be wearing a Thomas the Tank Engine suit next week.
No. Right, he sort of falls into the Mbappe sort of category, doesn't he? Where if Dortmund said, "All right, we're up for selling," and you would imagine that anybody with any money would be in for him because he is that good, isn't he? He's that goal he scored was it the Champions League? Like a Ricky Villa, like a dribble and a little dink. And he's a phenomenal player, and he's a good example, actually, isn't he, of why kids go to Germany? Because if he'd moved to United or even Liverpool, from Birmingham, he'd still be playing a couple of League Cup games every now and then, wouldn't he? It's a great example.
Exactly the right move. I agree, 100% the right move. And do you know why I think of all the names? And look, I was on board all the hype trains. You know what I mean? I'm conductor of them all. But this one, the reason that I've always thought this has legs, gents, is because I don't think he would demand superstar wages. I think 150, 180 grand a week, even if it's a high transfer fee, because of his age and the fact that he knows he can become a superstar, those wages will come. I think it's all on our side for this to be a more reasonable transfer, and the fee being the stumbling block rather than the fee plus the wages plus the agent.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And for a young British footballer, Liverpool must be a massive lure at the moment. I mean, you can't imagine not wanting to play in this team, could you? You're not wanting to play in front of our supporters, not wanting to play, for this manager. You can just imagine there's absolutely no reason why he wouldn't want to come. It's just getting Dortmund to sell him at a price that'd be palatable to our owners, which is a different matter altogether, isn't it? Because they're going to want north of 100 million, and this is before he's even. This season might be. He won't go in January, will he? Absolutely no chance. It's going to be the end of the season for all.
Champions League and stuff.
And he's going to have had. By then, we could be talking about a lad who's established in the England side. Who's taken Dortmund to whatever. We could be talking about another 20 or 30 million quid on top of what we're talking now. So it's it's massive money. But then the flip side to that is that if he said he wanted to go, they'd have to find a buyer, wouldn't they? They'd have, it's like anything, like all these situations. So yeah, look, I'm totally with you. I think if it ticks an awful lot of boxes, and if they were looking at one player in world football to spend a lot of money on, he'd be up there, wouldn't he?
And James, look, this is what, again, I'm looking for any reason I can to convince myself why this is happening, but if you're Dortmund, a big part of the attraction of Dortmund is, of course, being able to play. You go there, you get your game time. But also, it's known that when the time is right, the club is going to allow you a reasonable move. That's another part of this. So they're not going to want to be seen to stand in his way. They will, of course, demand and get a very, very, very good transfer fee, but I don't think they want to become that club either. It's a fine balancing act between being attractive and then pricing people out of moves.
Definitely, 100%. And the thing about Dortmund as well is that they pride themselves, I think, on the system that they are, because they're always competitive and they always still bring in top-class players. They believe in the youth system. They believe in the managing team. The sports director or whoever it may be that goes ahead and sorts out them transfers, because over the years they have been exceptional. Even when they never used to spend money, like they spend a little bit more now, but then they still sell these players on for much more money. So then Jude Bellingham in this case, I think it makes all the sense in the world. I agree. I don't think he's going to demand crazy wages. I think he'd be more than happy to play for Liverpool in the Premier League under Jurgen Klopp. I think it's the next stage for his career. He's done at Dortmund what he basically was meant to go there to do. He became better. He became an established player, and he actually learned his trade in men's football. He was obviously doing well at Birmingham, of course, but I think for the fact, like Steve said, getting that experience in the Bundesliga, getting the experience in that team, it's important for Jude Bellingham to have took that step, and now we know if we get him, top class player. And I'd love someone in the chat, or if you gentlemen could let me know as well, his numbers this season, because every other day I am seeing a goal being posted on Instagram, I am seeing an assist, and I'm seeing all these clips of Jude Bellingham and just celebrating, and that's in a Dortmund team, which very, very impressive side, but just think what he could do in our team. His injury record is good, he's a well-balanced midfielder, young as fuck. Like, when you look at our midfield as well, with all due respect to these players, because I like them as people and I like them as players. I like Oxlade-Chamberlain as a player. I like Naby Ke&iuml as a player, but they're not reliable. James Milner, love him. Legends of Liverpool Football Club, no doubt. Might prove me wrong and go till 40, but you can't bank on that. You can't bank on James Milner hopefully going till 40 years of age. You need to go out there and do what other big clubs do. Go out there and get yourself a superstar. Why is it Liverpool who can't go out and spend 100 to 150 million pounds on a top class young midfielder? Craig, you dance, baby. You deserve this. No, Craig, you deserve this. I am on the. Do you know this train? I've been on the train. Steve, I've been on this train. Now I am in first class seats because I want to see Jude Bellingham.
Steve was in the back mocking us when James was getting the shovel, putting the coal in, getting the steam going.
I'm not mocking. I'm like standing on the platform, just. Like, it's ready to go, isn't it? And I have to get on.
God, I love it. I knew I'd get you on one of these trains eventually, Steve. You've been standing on the platform.
Hey, listen. I wasn't the only one who wouldn't get on the Mbappe train. That was a fanciful train.
Yeah, that was a bit more of a Hogwarts Express.
This feels like a much more reasonable train to me. I'll have a little bit.
It makes sense.
I'm gonna say this to you: Fabinho, Elliott, Bellingham. That's it. I'll leave it at that. That's all I'm saying, gents.
Stop it. Listen, it's not. This is not explicit websites on the internet, Craig. You know what I'm saying? People haven't came here for that. They came here for football. Hey, listen, thoughts like that. Exotic thoughts like that is ridiculous.
Listen, what's the deal with Haaland? Has he got a release clause at the moment? Because
we're not getting Haaland, Steve.
No.
75 million, but they're trying to negotiate a new contract.
Say they lost Haaland for 60, 70 million, whatever his release clause is. That's a 200 million pound player, isn't it?
Yeah. They go by Eddie, Steve. They go by Eddie. I'm sick of him there with Marlon. I've sorted it out for them. Do you know what I mean? Just hit me up, Michael Zorc. I'm here.
I'm just thinking in their heads, where are they going to be thinking they can make that money up from? It's probably Bellingham, isn't it? They'll be thinking they get a big chunk of money for him, and that kind of makes losing Haaland for peanuts a bit easier to stomach.
It does seem ridiculous that Haaland will be going for 75 million quid, unless somebody wants to be absolute stupid and pay over the odds. But yeah. That clause is there, and clubs can semi-ignore clauses at sometimes, as we've seen, Steve, with Luis Suarez and Liverpool. But again, it's that balancing act, isn't it? If you want the service of Haaland for those years and you want to have him in your squad, they still bought him for, 20-something million, something like that. I know it was infinitely less than.
I love Haaland. I think he's absolutely sensational.
It's unbelievable, but he's gonna be going to Real Madrid by the looks of it.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's his next place. Boys, can I ask you a question regarding Jude Bellingham to Liverpool? Because we've obviously got
definitely happening.
I believe you. Do you know what? If he does join, I want to talk about hypotheticals. I think they're fun. If he does join, you've just mentioned the midfield there, Craig. Harvey Elliott, Jude Bellingham, and man like Fabinho. I love the sound of that. Do not get me wrong, but I also love Curtis Jones. Now, I do believe Jude Bellingham is a rather better player than Curtis Jones. I think he's more well-rounded. I even still think he brings the goals to the game. I'm not saying his long-range shooting is as good as Curtis Jones, because Curtis is very good at that. But I think what would be beautiful is this element of competition between these youngsters, like Curtis Jones and Jude Bellingham, fighting it out for a place, who deserves it most. And I think that's one thing Liverpool don't always have, or haven't had over recent seasons. We have it a little bit more as centre-back now, but that element of competition. Look at Diogo Jota bringing out the best of Firmino and Mane again getting goals, because they know their place is not confirmed. So I just want to know what your thoughts would be on Curtis Jones's position if Jude Bellingham was to join.
Can I ask you two just a sort of a slight counter question, or you, James? Do you think that Curtis Jones is good enough to be a nailed down first team regular, or is he always going to be just off the top, like coming in for bits and bobs and stuff?
I believe Curtis Jones right now is that. I believe Curtis Jones isn't. When a fully fit Liverpool midfield, like right now we've got loads of injuries, so yes, he plays week in, week out. But a fully fit Liverpool, I'll be dead honest with you, I don't think he gets close.
And even in the next 2 or 3 years, two or 3
years, 2 or 3 years, I believe he can. I think he's got the technical ability there.
Yeah.
I think he's got the right coach. I think he's got the right players around him. That being said, if you bring in someone the quality of Jude Bellingham, all the things that I've just said Curtis Jones has, Jude Bellingham also will. And Jude Bellingham, right now, you can't deny it, not just because he's playing for Dortmund. Would Curtis Jones start for Dortmund? I don't think he would. I think Jude Bellingham is just that damn good, therefore that's why they give him the chances.
I really like.
I believe in a thing. Just listen to the rhythm of my heart. That's what I believe, Steve. I believe, Steve, that the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride.
This is beautiful.
Make it easier.
You're on form today, mate.
Mate, I'm like a pig and poo here. I won't lie. I will not lie. Look, the Curtis Jones situation, it's a difficult one because it's still too early to say, I think. He burst onto the scene. He to me, he just seems like he's a leader in a dressing room, and he will never not give you 100% on the pitch. Whether he will have the tactical discipline under Jurgen Klopp is where I would question, because he wasn't very impactful the other day. Now, look, he's going to have games where he's in and out, but the reason I didn't mention him in the 3 was because I do think he would be the next one. After Fabinho, let's say Bellingham and Elliott, I think Jones would be another, dare I say, Jordan Henderson type player. We're going to get a lot from him, but we're not going to get him to the levels that these other guys are capable of. But still a very good midfielder. So it's better
to have the options, basically, like the way Jota with the front 3, and then
because he's an academy product, he cost us nothing.
I really like Curtis Jones. I really do. I just get the feeling that he's going to be. Harvey Elliott came up from Blackburn, and he seemed to have jumped ahead of Jones, didn't he, in the pecking order straight away? So I just feel like he's just below, where he needs to be a first team regular in a team that is challenging for the title. That's just my. I'm not saying.
So difficult though at this age, isn't it, to really be definitive on anyone?
It is, and he's had, he's done really well. He's, probably from where he was 2-3 years ago, he's done better than I thought he would. But I just
we have skills bias, do you think?
We probably do, yeah.
Yeah, no, we definitely. Well, I definitely do.
Thing, though. That's not a bad thing.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that
we need to have those figures.
Are we
in the
willing
team,
him to do well more?
Yeah, but we need those people in the team to give everybody who supports the club, sort of figurehead. But I just,
Do you know what as well, though, boys? Like, it could be an element of Scouse bias. I really wouldn't be surprised if it did, and that's probably something I'd be very subconscious to. That being said, I've wanted Naby Keita to smash it for seasons. It's only really probably his last injury, and not just his last injury. He went down 3 times against Manchester United, so I'm thinking to myself, he's just not going to be able to match the intensity of the Premier League. Otherwise, he just would have done it by now. And we can't rely on trying to fit someone into our system who isn't going to play more than 4 games. Now, that being said, look what Joel Matip's being able to do. But that's not even the point. The point is that we gave Naby, or at least I did. I never said Naby Keita to go. I thought we should give him the back and Oxlade-Chamberlain until it's definitive and he's not able to get back into the team for whatever reason. Give him a chance. I think Curtis Jones will get the same. I think he'll get the same to get that chance, and I just think competition is the only good thing for the squad, and I think it makes Curtis Jones all the more a better player for it.
I wonder, gents, I wanted to talk about the broader midfield situation and or problem that we now face. Now, is it fair to say not replacing Jude Bellingham was a mistake, or are we a little bit unfortunate because we could say Harvey Elliott was going to get those minutes? My view on this is I don't think we learned lessons from last year. I think we need to prepare for a worst case scenario in every eventuality at Liverpool Football Club, and not replacing Gini Williams' minutes when we know that Hendo picks up knocks We know that Oxlade-Chamberlain picks up knocks. We know that we've lost somebody who's bulletproof in midfield, and we haven't replaced those minutes with proven minutes and more hopeful that we can cover those minutes. Am I going a bit over the top here, Steve?
Craig, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, it's easy to say in hindsight now that it was a mistake. Let's go a bit hypothetical again. Let's just say Harvey Elliott hadn't got a ridiculous injury, and we had spent 40 million quid on a replacement for Wijnaldum. Harvey Elliott wouldn't be getting a look in, would he? Whereas at the start of the season, he started off and he was playing really, really, really well, and he's getting a lot of chances, and he's looking like the real deal. And I think, again, it's easy in hindsight, but I didn't feel, and I said this to you last season quite a few times, I didn't feel like it was a massive priority to replace. I get the minutes argument. That's the argument that I do get, because he was so reliable. And a lot of these lads you're talking about, Thiago, Henderson, Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain to a degree, they're not reliable fitness-wise. They're not going to be fit every week of the season. But in terms of the actual quality, I felt we had enough.
Steve, I just want to jump in there and say something, because I understand completely where you're coming from, and I'm not, that this does not make me right. The reason why I disagree, though, is because because you mentioned hindsight, when I feel like we've been given the evidence before. I feel like we saw it last season with the centre-backs, and the fact we never went out and replaced Lovren just as an option, not the fact that Lovren's an amazing world-class centre-back, but undoubtedly would have been able to step up last season when we had them lack of injuries, and then we're having to force Henderson there, Fabinho. Going into this season, one thing I noticed in the summer when I analysed our midfield options, even though we had a lot, we had probably 8 or 9 top-class players when fully fit. But you're relying on a Jordan Henderson who gets knocks. You're relying on Naby Ke&i, Oxlade-Chamberlain who gets knocks. You're relying on Thiago who gets knocks. You're relying on Harvey Elliott, a 18-year-old boy who hasn't fully really grew into his body in the Premier League at the highest level, in the most physical league in the world, and you don't anticipate a possible injury. I just think that's very naive for me. It's twice now. It's happened with Wijnaldum, who's reliable and was able to play week in, week out. Last season, we had the same problem with the centre-backs, going in with 3 centre-backs. And one of them's Joel Matip, who can. And but he had the same problem last season.
I don't think that's the same, though. I mean, we're talking about that was
there's some. You sound like a cat today, Steve. There's something jingling.
I think it's because your microphone will be just like in this, that it'll be touching your jacket.
Yeah, that was inexplicable last season. The 3 centre-half thing, that was just inexplicable. And the backup wasn't very good, was it? Whereas this season, we had 8, and I take your point about the injury records, but we had 8 or 9. Then on top of that, guys like Tyler Morton who were...
But with Tyler Morton wearing a thing in the summer, don't you rely on Tyler Morton now to go ahead and step into a midfield?
Not to us, but I'm sure in management's
good point.
Thinking,
good point.
He'd have been quite an acceptable 9th or 10th option, which they probably weren't thinking they would get to.
But then if you look at the 8 or 9 in front of him, or let's say 9 in front of him, 8 of them have got a problem. Milner's 35, Harvey Elliott's a kid, all the rest are injury prone. I just feel like you've got to look into the context of these players, like and the reason why I brought up the centre-back option, which was probably worse because we had much less. You're going into the season with 3 main senior centre-backs, and 2 of them have notoriously had many injuries, in Joe Gomez and Joel Matip. We go into this new season, go ahead and replace Konate because we got Konate because we absolutely had to. It would have been illegal if we didn't. But then we let a player who's played week in, week out for 4 seasons. And the only reason why Wijnaldum has been playing is because he's filling in the roles for these players that we've tried to replace Wijnaldum with. We tried to replace Gini with Naby Ke&i, it didn't work out. We tried to replace Wijnaldum with Thiago, didn't work out. Harvey Elliott did. But that's why I think we haven't learned from our mistakes, and that's poor management from the club.
I agree. That's where I was trying to go with this. I mean, Sod's law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I can't disagree with Steve. I sat here in the summer and I rounded off 7, 8 midfielders, and I thought 3 spots, surely we're going to have enough. But you know, when games come thick and fast, when we know that James Milner probably can't play 2 games in a week, really, because of Father Time's catching up with him. And that, I suppose, the Milner one's the one again. I think he might be the wages sacrifice for Bellingham, by the way. Let me just add that. I think at the end of the season, Milner's wages could be the ones that are sacrificed for a Jude Bellingham transfer. Just adding back to that. But yeah, look, it's very difficult to look at. We have the 2020 vision is impossible, but with hindsight we can all look and go, yeah, we should have done this, that and the other. But it's the minutes thing, Steve, as I know I keep going back to it, but it is that for me. You lost your bulletproof midfielder.
Yeah, but I mean, we're hardly in crisis situation now, are we? We could potentially on the weekend be fielding Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago with a Curtis Jones and Oxlade-Chamberlain sat on the bench, couldn't we? I mean, we're not down to bare bones. We're not talking about like scraping the barrel for youth team kids, are we? We're talking about we could have that midfield that we've all been after. I know there's been a couple of injuries, but we're not at the point where we haven't got enough to win a game. That midfield on the weekend should have beaten Brighton, shouldn't it? That was
Absolutely.
Good enough to beat Brighton.
100%. But the reason why I'm going to have to just disagree slightly against the... I mean, in fact, finish your point, because you keep interrupting.
No, that's basically it. I mean...
So on that point, what you've just mentioned, the midfield against Brighton, and I agree, we should have won that game. But Henderson played in the holding role, and even though I think Henderson can do a very good job in the holding role, I think his best place is further up the pitch, and I think the reason why he's being forced to play more deeper in the team opposed to anyone is because we're getting injuries. You can't anticipate an injury to Fabinho because that just can happen. But it's when it's constant with all the other midfielders. And to rely on youth team academy players, I just don't think that's the way forward if you want to go ahead and win trophies. The reason why Man City can come... And I only want Liverpool to compete on all fronts. You boys want Liverpool to compete on all fronts. We don't just want Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues. We want the FA Cups and League Cups. Because why? When it comes to the argument of who's the biggest club in the world, and it's the most major trophies. They're major trophies. Even though a Premier League outweighs a League Cup, it's still one trophy. Therefore... Man City, in years and years and years of time, will have them trophies to talk about. But we've got this many trophies compared to you. And that's because they've racked up them League Cups, and they've done that through good squad depth. I think it was very naive to not go out and get a senior player, and I'm not even talking about a £50 million player. You sold Gini Wijnaldum for free, which was stupid. But then... you don't go out, you don't even get like a Minamino type midfielder, someone that's unknown, Shimikas type midfielder. Do you get what I'm saying? Someone that is just in a mad league. We've got great scouting. I'm sure we would have had options, and we didn't jump on it.
But that's someone else that's just going to be another averagey squad player,
another useful option. Another useful option, though, Steve, which you need to compete on all fronts.
You do, but you're looking at someone then, at the start of the season, you'd have been looking at that and saying, well, that's someone that's going to get in the way of Curtis Jones, get in the way of Harvey Elliott, get in the way of your Tyler Moore.
It's another option.
Well, I mean,
I think we need to be ruthless, gents. I have to agree with James on this. Not that I think there's not a valid point on both sides. Just think
if there's an option of bringing in like a really top, if there's an option of bringing in like a really, really, really good one, like a really top midfielder, then fine. But some of the names that were knocking around, they were names that were only going to be someone that's not even in the matchday squad when everyone's fit, or someone that kind of prevents opportunities for some of the younger players. And I'd rather than bring in an averagey, someone we've not heard of, give opportunities to the young players.
But the type of players that I said was, the way Shimikas weren't really a big deal. But now look at him. He's took his opportunity. Now we've got 2 great left-backs. So if Robbo does get injured, which he hasn't very rarely got injured, we've got a great option there. And we got him for a lovely price. How much was Shimikas, Craig? 7-8 million? 13 million, like
11
I think it was about 10, 12 million. I think it was million? That was our budget when we were looking at the kid from Norwich anyway that ended up going to Newcastle.
Of course. Shimikas, great option. Minamino, someone who I writ off last season, Steve, because I thought he was what you've just said, an averagey player. But now he's an option. He's getting goals in the League Cup, which is contributing us to going into the next rounds. I just think to rely 3 games a week with these type of players, academy players as well, I just think it's naive. You see players like Saul, a proven, established player at Atletico Madrid over 10 seasons, going out on loan to Chelsea.
He was a good option. That was an obvious one, wasn't
it? Rodrigo to Paul, who also joined Atletico Madrid for just 30 million. I understand your point when you say that it's going to hold places. Welcome to the Premier League. Welcome to being a Liverpool player. You've got to compete for your place.
Who was the best midfielder on the pitch on Saturday?
Basuma.
Yeah, defo, 100%.
Hey, no, look, I mean, listen,
and that's another option, Craig. Brilliant.
Yeah, but you see, this is my point, though. You know, if there'd have been an opportunity to get Basuma in, that's different, because he's top class. You know, Saul, top class. Rodrigo de Paul, top class.
Tielemans. Not signing a new deal.
I love Tielemans. You know, that would have been a sensational signing. But that's a slightly different thing to what we're talking about, isn't it? Because those kind of players, you bring them in anyway, don't you? Because they improve your squad. Like, just another body, effectively, you know, to cover some minutes. I don't know. I don't know if I'd have been up for that.
Okay. Kind of broadening out the conversation and pushing it on a little bit. Wednesday, Atletico Madrid at Anfield. Where does this rank in your priorities, gents, against Sunday? Travelling to London to take on West Ham in the Premier League? Because I've got to be honest, it's second for me.
Well, when you think about how good we've been in the Champions League group stage, I think you've kind of got to put it as your second priority. What would our midfield be for that game? I'm sure we'll do a lineup prediction or whatever, but like for this game specifically, how do you line it up? And I just kind of want to bring it on to the point that I made last, not to continue that argument. Obviously, I understand that I agree, Craig, that West Ham is the more important game to focus on this week, especially when you've just dropped points in the Premier League. Chelsea are kind of building the gap now. But for this game specifically, who do we start in midfield? And Atletico with a ruthless side. Who's to say we won't get another injury?
I'm genuinely thinking to myself, Curtis Jones, Jordan Henderson and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and don't go near Thiago and Fabinho till Sunday. That would be where I'd be going with it.
No, I agree. I'd probably go with that myself, to be honest.
Yeah. And there was something I read to suggest that maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain just hasn't got the engine these days. Did anybody see this article saying that he was blowing and puffing at half time? He had a little word with, I think, Kornmeyer when he was coming off the pitch. You know, and he didn't look like he had the engine to really keep up with the game. And it could be because he played another game, you know, in the League Cup as well, Steve. So I want to be fair to him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people in the know talk about match fitness in a different way to how we talk about fitness, don't they? And your match fitness you only get by playing matches, and he's barely played a match other than 10 minutes here or there. So you can understand, you know, a couple of games in a week and he's blowing a little bit. I of all the things to worry about with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think probably his energy levels are probably not up there in terms of what to worry about. Like his quality and his ability, you know, delivering assists and goals is probably more concerning. Like his energy levels and his work rate is always going to be up there, I think. I wonder if he might, if Thiago's fit, I wonder if he might think this is a better game to put him in than West Ham. Just because... I just
want to get broke up, Steve. That's my worry.
Well, yeah,
it's a Letty. That's what stopped me saying Tyler Morton, to be honest, because he's a young lad and I don't want them thrown in there.
He's dealt with these games for years, Thiago, hasn't he? Though, I mean, this is like meat and drink to him. This is what he does, and I wonder if he might think, you know, get an hour into him on Wednesday, you see how he is for West Ham. But I agree entirely, especially given 9 points so far in the Champions League. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? West Ham's a miles bigger match, especially like James says, with Chelsea pulling out a little gap.
It really does feel like an opportunity missed at the weekend with City shitting the bed against Crystal Palace, and you know, we knew that Chelsea are probably going to come good in the end, which they did. They're on to a 3-0 win. But for me, as I said, the reason, like Steve touched on, I can't see us being able to peg back 5, 6, 7 points from Chelsea. We need to be within striking distance of them, and I just think, for me, the points again to knock West Ham back away as well, because they're closing in. You know, David Moyes has them doing really well this season. Good squad, full of energy. Declan Rice is in the form of his life at the minute in midfield. there's a lot to worry about for me, and I think we'll get through the group stage, and we'll concentrate about that down in February. We'll worry about the knockout points, but between then and February, between now and February, I think it's got to be the league, the focus, Steve. Has to be
100%. I mean, finishing top of your Champions League group is not even that big a deal anymore, is it? You get some absolute drifters, second and third in your group. Second, and you get some funny old teams finishing top, like Sheriff might finish top of Madrid's group, and then Madrid might finish second, and you end up with them rather than Sheriff. So, who knows? Finishing top. The only reason I think if you finish top, you get a home second leg, don't you? Which is,
just on this. Nobody's overlooking Atletico Madrid, not at all. They're absolutely capable of coming and beating us, 100%. That's not the issue. The issue is we have 9 points out of 9. One more win, we top that group probably. And if it comes down to it, worst case scenario would be beat Porto at home. We go relatively strong if we need to. For me, I just think with that West Ham game before the international break, we don't want to be going into the international break having dropped 2 lots of points 2 weeks in a row.
No, for sure.
Yeah, I'm a betting man, boys. I am a betting man, and the reason what I'm leading into here is the fact if I'm going to bet and I'm going to think about it strategically, I'm thinking to myself for this game against Atletico Madrid. Yes, it's a big game. It's a harder team than West Ham for sure. But if you look at the circumstances and the stakes of both games, you've just said it, Craig. 9 points out of 9, one more win probably gets it. If you look at the fact the other teams that they're going to be playing, Atletico Madrid, they're going to be playing Porto still. They've still got AC Milan. Who's to say they're not going to draw in them games, or Porto and Milan won't draw with each other? It's very likely we're going to go through. It's not very likely that we're going to beat West Ham if we make changes. If we do not prioritise that game, we have to prioritise that game for the fact we've been bottling leads at home, which is not good, and also away with Brentford. And West Ham have been amazing, tactically well set out. The players will be very much up for that game to take points off Liverpool. They've got the attack and prowess. Antonio has been on fire this season, and he'd be the type of player to cause us a problem in this game. Ben Rama as well. That's why you've got to prioritise West Ham, because it's a must-win. If we draw against Atletico Madrid, we've still got faith we're going to go top of the group stage. You said it, Steve, it's not really that big of a deal to finish top. As long as you get second, sweet. We're through. Round of 16, something to look forward to. West Ham, if you drop points in that game...
Who Chelsea got the weekend? Who Chelsea got the weekend?
That's a great question. I'll type that in as I'm saying my point. But if we lose that game, you start to look at Liverpool being out of the title race, which that's not acceptable. Even the conversation, even the
season can derail very quickly. Then you go out in the League Cup as an example against Leicester, and the mood changes.
Hang on, we're talking about derailing. If we don't win one game, we're unbeaten in 24 games.
If we allow Chelsea to go away from us and we let them, just before the AFCON as well. By the way,
Chelsea have got Burnley. Chelsea have got Burnley, which they're 100% going to win that game. At home. Man City have got Manchester United. I rate their chances in that game. So I just think to myself, if they're going to be winning, and West Ham are obviously very, very good as well, I think you've got to prioritise it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. But he's done it before, hasn't he? The team for the Milan Champions League game, he rotated about 7 of them, didn't he? And Joe Gomez and Konate played at the back, didn't they? And Tsimikas, I think, made 6 or 7 changes. So I think he will do that. It's just whether he's got the scope to do that in midfield, particularly. That's why I wonder if he'll just give Thiago, half the game or an hour just to see if he, get up to fitness.
I think half an hour would be good for Thiago. Ease him in.
Yeah, I think so.
I want to just quickly talk about the managerial merry-go-round, gents, because Nuno got the bullet after an entirely predictable loss to United. If ever there was a game Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have wanted, it was Spurs, because United have it over Spurs over the years. And I think Roy Keane was spot on. Often I think Roy Keane goes a bit over the top, but he's right. Spurs were boring, they were dull, they were lifeless. And I just don't see, Steve, how Conte is going to get them playing the type of football that the Spurs faithful want. Because Fonseca probably would have been the man to play the brand of football. Conte will come in, he will do an effective job. He's a very good manager, but he has a longevity of about 2 years before everything capitulates.
I know a lot of Tottenham fans though, and I do think there's a bit of a myth about this whole desire to want to see good football at the expense of everything else. They're desperate for a trophy, absolutely desperate to win something. And Antonio Conte will get them closer to winning something than any other manager that they've, closer than Pochettino, definitely closer than Mourinho, definitely closer than Nuno. I think it's.
Why not make this move in the summer though? That's what I don't get.
Well, I think
that was the thing that confused me.
They probably tried to. There was talk, wasn't there? But
maybe. I mean, we'll even look at us with Jurgen Klopp. I thought we were very, very set on getting Brendan Rodgers out. I thought that was basically inevitable, and then we ended up keeping hold of him. And Jurgen Klopp came later on in the season.
Who knows? I mean, they're just an absolute shambles, aren't they? I mean, a friend of mine's a Tottenham fan, and she said the other day, from the point they sacked Pochettino, it's just been an absolute shambles. It's just gone downhill and downhill and downhill. A manager they loved, who played good football, had the big.
Yes.
It's something like 4 years ago this week they beat Madrid 3-1 in the Champions League.
He gave them an identity. He made them a Champions League team.
He was fantastic, and I think I'm sure if Daniel Levy had his time again, he wouldn't have got rid.
Funnily enough, boys, Spurs are in a very similar position to Manchester United with the fact that their manager, and I think Nuno, it's weird because at Wolves he never really played great amazing football, but he found a way to get results through a system. At Spurs, he couldn't build his team over time. It weren't his team, therefore it just didn't quite fit. Whereas the difference is Antonio Conte, he's a results manager. And similar to Manchester United, you could not care about identity. Your identity's gone. Whatever identity you think you have, think about getting a new ID from some seedy fella, because this one's just ran out of date. There's no point. If you get caught, you're going to jug, mate. So in this instance, you've got to just look at it as get a manager who is going to get you results, who is going to be able to get the best out of a Harry Kane. Jose Mourinho got them to a League Cup final, for fuck's sake. Antonio Conte, I feel like, can do that with this set of players, or get them competing with Spurs.
I don't think a trophy's the issue. I think it's purely Champions League football for the stadium. That's, to me, where Levy's head is going to be. I think he's going to be looking at that Champions League money.
From his point of view,
the fans, you're desperate to win something, absolutely desperate to win something, and to have a day. I think Harry Kane's a big problem too, isn't he? And we wouldn't. It's a funny thing to be saying that, isn't it? One of the best strikers in the world is a big problem, but he is. He's patently not been himself this season. At
least Mourinho, Steve, got a tune out of Son and Kane. You say that about him. He got the relationship going.
He worked out a system that got the best out of those two, didn't he? And since he's gone, all the fuss in the summer about him moving to City or not moving to City, and that's obviously had a big impact. There's just no question. He's just been half the player this year, and they look like a really easy team to play against. We were saying before the stream started, Craig and I, weren't we? If United could have picked a game to play after getting spannered by us, it was Tottenham, wasn't it? Imagine if they'd have gone to Brentford away or Leeds away or something, and had a really nasty game against a team that ran more than them and worked harder than them and tackled harder and everything. That wouldn't have been a good game for them. But Tottenham away, they just did whatever they wanted. Tottenham didn't lay a glove. Just the easiest afternoon for them to look good and make, give us what we all want, which is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer staying in the job,
staying at the wheel.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed they get a result again in the Manchester derby as well. Everybody be flying. Everybody be delighted. Only be a genius again.
Oh man, he looked. Have you ever seen a manager after Liverpool United game? Have you ever seen a manager look less like he knew what to do? Like, the guy didn't have a clue.
Because he doesn't know what to do. That's genuinely his
problem. He
hasn't got the capacity. It's just like asking, I don't know, like me to outrun Usain Bolt. I just do not have the facilities for that, my G's. It's just not going to happen. So, stop trying to get it. So, it's not even only going to Solskjaer's fault now. It's the Glazers for not realising that you've just got a coach that is not set up for this job. It's not for him. It's really, really not. And, to keep persisting, you're just basically torturing the fella. And he's not going to quit. He's on a nice wage weekly. He wants to prove to the fans that he can turn it round. In his head, he's going to think he's doing well. He got second last season, got to a final. But he won't put 2 and 2 together and realise, you were in the Europa League because you got knocked out of the Champions League, mate, or you finished second but you still finished about 20 points behind first. Still not good enough. Like, you can talk about places all you want. Points is also a big factor. Man United never got many points last season. You never seen them getting 85 to 90 points, which is what you need to win a league title. They got about 75.
They barely got that when they won the leagues. They barely got that when they won the leagues back in 10 years ago.
No, 100%. But the difference was they had a manager who knew how to just get it over the line against teams in games. Oh, you've just said it there, Steve. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't have a clue. If his team is losing, that's the thing. If the team's winning, great. Keep doing your football, boys. Do you know what I mean? Just enjoy yourselves. Enjoy yourselves doesn't work. That piece of advice does not work when you are 2-0 down against Liverpool or 1-0 down against City or Chelsea or whoever it may be. You need to change the system. You need to adapt to the game. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's a one-trick pony. And if that one trick doesn't work, you realise that he's a very, very vulnerable manager.
What I liked about the analysis after the Liverpool United game was how people started to appreciate how hard it is to press.
Yeah,
everyone thinks pressing is just running after the ball. Actually,
it's got to be organised.
That game showed how what organised pressing is, as opposed to just chasing around after the ball like a headless chicken.
While we're on the manager subject, one manager that probably deserves a little bit of credit and seems to be turning things a little bit is Mikel Arteta. I think it's only fair that we say he's doing a decent job there at Arsenal. Like, he really is. They're going about their business nice and quietly. Smith Rowe looks like a fantastic young footballer. And, they're even starting to creep up the league table a little bit, gents. I mean, the North London derby, that was a bit of a mad one, but if you're an Arsenal fan now and you were looking at Spurs, you're thinking shiny new stadium, new manager, or maybe you're thinking, hang on here, maybe we're going to have some bragging rights at the end of this season because they're going about their business quietly.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think
you've just said it for us, Craig.
Yeah, they've got a team that the fans are going to be excited about, haven't they? For the first time in a few years, a team that's young and exciting. They'll have a go. Aaron Ramsdale. I did a thing with Aaron Ramsdale before Christmas. I was working I did a bit of work for a charity, and we did a thing with Aaron Ramsdale. He's a cracking lad, a really, really, really lovely lad, and a great personality. I'm so chuffed for him because he could be England's goalkeeper easily. The way.
Does that mean that Everton will have to get a new image for when Jordan Pickford plays, so they can't put the England's number one up that they love to fucking brag about?
Yeah.
I think he's a better keeper than Jordan Pickford is. I really do think he's a better keeper I'm probably a better keeper than Jordan Pickford is sometimes. But I think he's good, and I think they got a nice looking back four with the Japanese lads, Ben White, Gabriel, and Kieran Tierney. Partey looks good. Emil Smith Rowe, Odegaard. In Martinelli, Saka. I really like as well. Saka. Yeah, they got some really, really, really good young players. So, yeah, I think fair play to them. They're probably going to come unstuck when they play a really good team. But if they could finish, 5th or 6th this year, that would be a massive win for them, wouldn't it?
You know what made my week, apart from beating United 5-0? Did I mention 5-0? By the way, 5-0.
Hey, high five!
Hearing Saki talking about Klopp and talking about how he admires the style of football. Steve Klopp must have been loving that, mate. He must have been loving him. The great Saki speaking about.
What did he say? Like a magnificent orchestra or something? Like what was his actual quote? It was
somebody in the chat will probably know it, but I haven't got it to hand. But
it was beautiful, wasn't it? And yeah, I mean, sure, Jurgen Klopp, you're loving it because Arrigo Sacchi is just like legend upon legend. Like anybody that presses with their football team now, goes back to his beautiful Milan team and he's like one of the godfathers of coaching, isn't he?
Absolutely, and you go James, on. Everton have lost, by the way.
Really confused.
Yeah, right. I am. So, like, Everton have just lost, and we're talking about a manager merry-go-round. It only leads me to present the question: what happens if Everton sack Rafa Benitez? What do they do? Because it seems whatever they try, it doesn't matter. If it's an upcoming manager who was the manager they got from Watford? Silva. something Silva.
Yeah, Marco Silva.
Marco Silva, that was it. Marco Silva. Nice upcoming, promising manager. It didn't work out. Instead, let's go ahead and appoint a legend of the game in Carlo Ancelotti, someone who's won it all. Didn't work out. And then you go ahead and get a rival manager who won shit for us and has been boss and has shown that he can do it for smaller teams. And let's be honest, Everton are a smaller team, mid-table at best. So, when you go off that logic, why... What's going to happen? Like, seriously, what's going to happen? What do they do? Because
I'd say Newcastle are kicking themselves, because Rafa would have been the man for this rebuild. He absolutely would have walked into that Newcastle job.
And there's a Lufthansa. There's a Lufthansa as well.
It could easily still be if Everton pull the trigger on him.
But, but that's if, because if you're Everton as well, Steve, think about it. Think about how much backlash that Rafa Benitez and Everton got for making that appointment. Just think you've made such a big decision that really involves the shape of your club, and it hasn't worked out this soon. So
but it's
they could persist with him just because of that reason, because they're worried, like,
I don't know.
Like, in the end, they'll prove you right type of thing.
But like you say, this has gone back now an awful long time with different approaches, like young up-and-comers and experience and everything. And every time it goes wrong. Every time, I remember the summer that they bought Gylfi Sigurdsson, and they bought... and then last year when they bought Rodriguez and Allen and Decore and everyone was like, right, this is it now. I think
you're laughing when I'm laughing at that.
It just wasn't.
A manager swap. Do a manager swap for Nuno for Rafa.
Do you know what? I was just thinking that myself. I was just thinking Nuno has Everton written all over him. To be fair, he's an Everton style manager.
But didn't they want him in the summer? Wasn't he linked with? He was going to go Palace, wasn't he? And then Everton.
Yeah, but Rafa's better than Nuno. Like on paper, do you know what I'm saying? That's probably why they edged Rafa.
I mean, maybe they'll just pack up the club if they realize. If Rafa can't do it, then no one can.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. It's like Nuno is just a downgrade.
I've managed to go 50.5 minutes without mentioning the Mohamed Salah contract situation, which is a miracle, to be fair. Yeah. But anybody seen anything positive around this? Anybody seen anything that we can maybe, Steve, I'm looking at you. You've got friends in the industry. Is there anything you're not telling us, mate? Anything you're not telling us? Only his agent
adding some zeros onto it all the time, probably.
There's Minnie Mo, keeping him safe, good man.
I don't know. No, I can't. Nothing I can add beyond what I've already attempted to add. It's Are
we being set up for a January window where this is the January window?
No, I can't. No.
I mean, him getting a new deal is the January window. That is the sum of our business.
Yeah, but I mean, people would take that. I think that'd be fine. Yeah,
I'd take it. I'd take it with both hands.
Just give me Mo, lads. Just give me Mo. I don't care how much you have to pay at this point. If he wants 500 bags, just give him 500 bags.
Yeah, I'm with you. There.
Please, for the sake of my heart and my face, just do it. Get out of the way. This saga's making me age, boys. Like, I'm trying to enjoy my 20s, and it's a pretty hard when they're trying to get like they're not securing my man Mo. You need to sort it out, don't you, lad? There's Mo here. I'm talking to him like as we speak. You know what I mean? I'm just waiting. I'm here. Fingers crossed. Doing the namaste and waiting for Mohamed Salah.
I'm confident
to
still.
Get that new
I'm
contract.
confident.
I'm really confident. I have to say, I'm
confident, but like I'm like 70%, and I don't like the 30%. The 30%'s annoying.
What happened in the 30%? What happened?
He looks like a man that's comfortable and confident.
He goes to PSG or something.
Like he just ends up dustying, and we don't do. We're stupid. Like FSG have shown stupid things before. I'm sure they're not that stupid.
We know what the big worry is. The back of our minds, we're thinking, is he going to be the one that funds Jude Bellingham? That's the horrible looming Halloween disaster that's down the line. It is a
horror movie, isn't it? It is a horror movie, just the thought of it.
Yeah.
I can't see it not happening for so many reasons, but mostly because Mohamed Salah looks so at home, so comfortable, so relaxed. He acknowledges the fans a lot, to be fair, even pointing to them when he scored recently, and he knows, Steve. That's all I'm going to say. Is Mo knows.
I mean, there was a point 2-3 years ago, wasn't there, when he was scoring a goal and looked like the weight of the world on his shoulders. He looked like he wasn't particularly enjoying it. You know, had a bit of a grump on, and then even now, like you say, this season he looks so happy. He looks like just everything. You know, he's scoring and he's looking like, you know, he's showing emotion, loads of emotion. He's even celebrating with Sadio Mane when he scores. You know, it's that good. You know, so you know, for all those reasons, I'm pretty confident.
He did say he wants to stay as well. To be fair,
yeah,
he literally came out on.
He said he would stay the rest of his career, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what he said, and I believe if it's up to Mo Salah, then I believe him.
So do I. Gents, we've hit the hour mark. Time has beaten us once again. It's absolutely flown by. Before I say my thank you to the gents and to you guys, I want to just say again, the holidays are coming. Don't forget, get over to manscaped.com. WFM20, you'll get you 20% off and free shipping of anything on the site, whether it be the Performance Package 4.0, whether you want that 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner that James wants from Santa in his Christmas stocking. Don't be lying, James.
Oh, yes. No, I'm not going to dispute that point. I absolutely agree, and I couldn't agree more.
Steve, you look like you're a bit of a metrosexual, mate. Somebody who's not afraid to use a bit of moisturiser as and when. Well, I've got some great news for you, Steve. Great news for you, mate. Manscaped have premium body wash now that's infused with aloe vera and sea salt to keep that skin even smoother.
Just tell me one thing. Was there a product called the Weed Whacker or something like that?
Yes, that's the ear and nose hair trimmer.
That's it, right, okay.
And it's waterproof as well, I'll add, Steve.
Right. Wow.
That's probably the product.
Kill two birds with one stone when you're in the shower and stuff like that. When it's waterproof, do you know what I mean? Killing two birds with one stone. You don't have to get in the shower and then out the shower and do it.
Light a few candles. Put Mini Mo to the side, mate. If he wants to watch, let him watch.
Hey, John, Mini Mo's is due a haircut very soon, so I might need to get onto it, lads.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolutely phenomenal hour. Thank you so much to Mr. Steve Bland, to Mr. James Redmond. I hope that you all had a great Halloween, by the way, as well. And,
thank you very much. We did. Well, I did. I don't know about you, Steve.
I didn't really do much.
It's just one of them holidays, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? When you're a kid, it's boss. And then, you just get knocks on your doors for scran.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, what better note to leave it on? As I said, WFM20, 20% off and free shipping. Thank you to James, thank you to Steve, thank you to you guys for tuning in as always. We'll be back with some more Jude Bellingham propaganda next week. Steve can't wait. Look at him, he can't wait. He won't be able to sleep.
Hey, I'm getting on this train.
There we go.
Hold it at the station for me.
James, do you know what score the United game was, mate?
The United game? 5. High five.
Steve even put on his King Kenny hoodie there just to, you know, because he was pissing himself at Old Trafford, wasn't he? He's having the time of his life.
one of the best bits of camera work ever, that one.
It was brilliant. Right, I'm going to let everybody go. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, like, get over to James Redmond TV. Check out Mr. Steve Bland on Instagram and everywhere else where you get beautiful dad bods. Because I imagine, Steve, you look after yourself. I won't lie. But look, we'll talk to you soon. Lots of love. Bye-bye.